What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second bonus episode of the Off-White podcast. Amanda is the director of These Shining Lives. Who are you, Amanda?
Well, right now I don't do much. I am quarantined, isolated with my sister and my family and fiance in my house. So I just do some homework and not really anything crazy. Not a good answer.
I'm Paige, obviously. Currently, same. Quarantine life is great. Not really. But at school, I'm studying psychology and fashion, and then obviously I do theater, and I'm on a couple different officer teams, so keeps me busy. I did my first production when I was 7 years old. So it was like a musical through my school district. It was all I really need to know. I learned in kindergarten, actually. So that got me started, and then basically every year since then, I was involved in the musical. And then once you entered middle school, you got bumped up to 2 shows a year, so you could do the play and the musical. And so I started doing that. And then once I hit high school, I started venturing out into some community theaters rather than just like my school district. So I basically have done theater my whole life. And then I got to college and I mainly just started helping out with productions.
Okay, so my history with theater is a little different. I did do theater productions as a child, and the first one that was really a community and like bigger production was Oliver, and I actually somehow ended up the lead, and so I was Oliver. So my first role, I was a boy, and that was really fun. It was in 5th grade. And then after that, there wasn't a lot of great theater opportunity, I feel like, around me. And so I ended up just kind of like veering off and going into sports in my life and stuff. And after that, I came to college and I didn't have any intention of doing any like theater or anything like that. But in my intro to communications class, my professor offered extra credit to audition for the musical. And so I did and fell in love with it, and then added a theater minor to my course load. So yeah, I didn't have any real experience in high school or anything. I did the musical one time in high school, and I was just like a common person in the company, and it was fine, but it wasn't anything crazy. So yeah, that's how I ended up here.
That's awesome. So I know you directed These Shining Lives. I don't know much about the play, so can you give us a quick synopsis of what the play is like and what's going on?
So These Shining Lives is about basically 4 girls who are working in the radium dial factory, and it's based on a true story, and each character is based off of either one or a combination of real people from about 100 years ago, and it's just about their lives, their friendship, their relationships. Catherine Donahue is the main figure that's followed, and her husband Tom is also an intricate part of the whole play as a whole. And then there's kind of like the antagonist, Mr. Reed, who is their boss and ends up sweeping under the rug all of their problems and symptoms they're having from radium poisoning. So it's just about their lives and how they fought their case and ended up winning and changing the trajectory of the workforce for women and people in general, and just really held companies responsible for how they were treating their workers and their health and things like that. It also has some common themes of time and how you spend it and where you put your value in life and how that can teach you to basically better your life. And yeah, I think that's everything. Sorry, I said a lot, I think.
No, that's great. Thank you. Paige, would you like to talk about the issues with performing? Because I know you guys didn't get to perform These Shining Lives, so Paige, want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so obviously the world's a little bit of a mess right now with COVID and everything. So we went on spring break from college, and we had been rehearsing for a couple months. Everything was on track. We were going to get back and start rehearsing in the actual theater. We were moving all our set in, getting our costumes ready and everything. I think we had 2 weeks until opening night. But then we got the news that we weren't gonna come back after spring break because all universities started shutting down. So we don't get to perform the show. We never really got to have an ending or anything, I don't know, cemented. So it's been sad. It's been hard because I know that we all put a lot into this, and you know, we were really looking forward to it. It meant a lot to a lot of us, but the rehearsal process, we still had all of that, and I don't know. It's easy to be disappointed, but also in light of everything that we still got out of the experience, like it was a positive one.
So obviously, like you were saying, COVID, everybody's going insane, everything's crazy. A lot of off-Broadway shows also were canceled. Obviously, so many things were canceled, like MMA tournaments, huge wrestling tournaments, basketball games. Like, it's just insane. And for me, theater to get canceled for me, it was like probably the hardest thing because, or movies, even movies. Like, I'm a huge film guy. I'm a huge story guy. I like stories. I like reading. I like watching TV shows, Broadway shows, plays, movies, everything. So movies also getting pushed back. Like, it's just crazy how much COVID is affecting everything. And a lot of people's lives in college is theater. I was really looking forward to seeing Dr. Dulwich be the hero of everyone and being the best person ever, you know. But but yeah, it's just crazy because theater. I feel like theater and actors, their jobs are not only to what's it called, play other characters, other people in the show and present a story, a theme, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a window and a whole new point of view, even if it's a fake story or a real story. Like, I don't know, that's what hurt most about, for me, for not seeing these Shining Lives on stage, is I didn't get to see these people's full point of view or like be able to present it to other people. And I'm sure you guys were excited for that. It's just a hard thing to go through. What was your role, Paige, in These Shining Lives? What point of view can you give us of your
So I played Frances O'Connell. So I was one of the 4 women who worked at Radium Dial. Frances is kind of known to be the moral backbone of the group, but not always the straightest backbone, little bit flexible. So she always tried to be good and kind of keep everybody in line, but she fell into a lot of gossiping herself. But it was just really fun to get to explore her as a character. Some of her like core motivations, I think, were just integrity and kind of being a peacekeeper. And so it was really interesting to, I guess, see that play out throughout the show, see the shift in all the girls from the beginning to the end, and just everything that they went through, their decisions that they had to make during the lawsuit, all of that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Ooh. Amanda, can you describe the directing process of the play?
Yeah.
Because you guys didn't use props and you didn't really have like any props, so can you please talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically early on, I was having a conversation with Samantha, who was my co-director, and she brought up that if she were ever to direct, she would maybe want to do it with someone. And so I brought up, hey, what about These Shining Lives? It's my favorite play, and I know you really like it. And so that's basically where we started. And then we obviously went through the process of casting, which is a lot. I think, too, honestly, it would have been easier to cast if it weren't like our peers. I think that I would be lying if I said like that doesn't affect it, but it is hard because you do know most of the people that walk through the door on a more personal level. So it was really hard to remain objective. At least I think it is hard because you want to put together the best cast, and you know that no matter what decision you make, you're probably going to face backlash from your peers later. So that was a challenge, but I feel like we did a wonderful job, and we were so pleased with our cast and how everyone stepped into their roles and really rose to the occasion. So that was probably the first big aspect of directing. And then obviously you have rehearsals, creating schedules, contacting all the right people to make sure you have the rehearsal space, keeping in contact with all your cast members, keeping them on top of what they need to be doing and when they need to have their lines down, things like that. And then making sure that your blocking is all down and together with the co-director. So we had to meet and talk a lot before we even had our first rehearsal to make sure that our blocking was similar and that we knew what was going on and that we were coming in as a unified front and not coming in divided. That's a big aspect. And then obviously like lighting, set building, we had a say in all of that. Costuming, even though we never really got there, we have our hands in everything, and there's just a lot of things you have to keep on your to-do list and make sure that you check off. And then I mean, obviously some of the stuff we missed out on, more like we had our playbill done and created and we worked with ASD to get that done, but there's just some things we didn't get to do, obviously presenting the show and all of the logistics of lighting and stuff that came with that. We had one meeting with the person who does all of the lighting, and we were ready to move forward with that, sound effects, everything like that, but obviously that was cut short. So that's just kind of like a glimpse, a quick synopsis of all the logistics of directing. So
Thank you for sharing. So for me, like I said earlier, like theater stories have a big part in my heart. And the big thing about theater is you can go through all these rehearsals, go through all these practices, learn your lines, and not really be a part of the show because you're still not changing and not learning. And I think the most important part of any theater production, any show you do, doesn't matter if it's a comedy or a tragedy or whatever it is, you have to learn something. If you come out of the theater production or a play or a musical without learning anything, I feel like you failed as being a part of the show. Like stage crew members, actors, any aspect of the show, if you're working on it, you're going to come out learning something. And if you don't, you didn't do your part. And I have firm belief in that. That's 100%. If you didn't come out learning, then what was the point of you being a part of it? So with that, I would like to ask you guys, what did you guys learn from being in these Shining Lives? Besides that radium is poisonous.
That's the big one. I mean, the show itself has a lot of like really important messages, and I don't know, one of the big things to me is that like it really did happen. Like this is a part of our history. So there was a lot of takeaways in that, and just the main message of time and like the most important thing being each other and relationships, and loving others and being loved. And then personally, I think, so kind of like Amanda said, I came into college not planning on doing anything with theater. So I kind of I did it in high school, like I did it through my school, but once I got to college, I was like, oh, like this is the big leagues, so like it's time to set that passion aside. But I couldn't really stay away from it. And so that's why I started doing a lot of backstage work, but I still like would never audition because I just didn't see myself having a place. And so somehow I ended up at auditions for these Shining Lives. Definitely wasn't my plan, and never really thought like it was a possibility that I would get cast, and then I did. And so that just in itself has shown me kind of just you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And the answer is not always going to be yes. But if you don't ask, you don't know. And I was just kind of building these personal barriers for myself. And it took me a long time to realize that I'm the only one that was limiting myself, you know? And so I had to learn throughout the rehearsal process to accept, like, and allow myself to take up space and to believe that I deserve to be there just as much as everyone else. So I've definitely gained a new perspective, and like how I conduct myself, I guess, has probably been my biggest takeaway from the show, just personally. And just, again, like not limiting myself so much anymore.
Yeah, I think to build off of that, for me, I had always learned a lot from these Shining Lives. Again, going back to that whole theme of time and how you spend it, that theme of value and where you put your value. Is it in the material things in life? Is it for that paycheck, or is it for your friends and your family and your people closest to you? Those are the obvious themes that you gather after going through the play a couple times. I don't think I fully even learned the lesson, or I guess I wasn't able to really apply those ideas and themes in a very real way until the production was taken away from us. And just being stripped of that ability to share the story and to show the talent and tell the important messages that we wanted to tell was horrible. But if I could go back and do it all again, I don't think I mean, I know I wouldn't change anything. I would still direct this play and still go to every rehearsal and still spend the extra 2 hours we did the week before spring break to work things out. I would still spend all that time meeting with Samantha to nail down logistics. I wouldn't go back and change anything, because even though the outcome isn't what we wanted, I still had so much time that was given to that, and it was so worth it. Even though the production wasn't done, the relationships and watching people grow and getting to know people better and putting so much work into something was so rewarding in itself. I wouldn't go back and change that. I wouldn't put my time anywhere else. I wouldn't put my value or hard work anywhere else. I would still do the same thing, even if I knew that the productions weren't going to happen. And I think that is so applicable to the play. Catherine lost her life, and you could say that working at Radium Dial was such a waste, and if she could go back she would change it, but I don't know if she would, because she got 3 best friends and she got a career and a life that she never even knew she wanted, and she gained so much from that, and she made a difference for every single working person moving forward. So I think I definitely never really I guess identified with that aspect of the play, and after going through all of this and the situation with the play, it became very applicable to my life personally. So
I think it's crazy, like, how much the show applies to what we're going through right now. Like, I don't think that we could be going through this with a better show.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And it's like, if we came back and did the show, I think that it would be so amazing, because we've all learned to relate to it on such a deeper level now.
yep.
Thank you for joining me on the podcast, of course, guys.
Stay home.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Fez.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much. I love you both.
Yeah, no problem. Love you guys. Miss you.
You really need me there, and I really need you here. Like you really need me there.